everybody, and welcome to Read Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Check us out at the SpidermanCrawlspace.com. Well, as promised, guys, here's the first review of the all-new, all-different Amazing Spider-Man #1, better known as 895 in Legacy, by new writer Zeb Wells, as well as returning classic Spider-Man artist John Romita Jr., who's actually a favorite of mine. But I will do my best here to be as honest as I can with this review as we relaunch Amazing Spider-Man once again with the questions, what did Peter do? Let's get into the pros, everybody. First of all, I will throw on the main thing. It's really actually very nice to see John Romita Jr. back on Spider-Man. His Spider-Man's just been a very staple for me from the 80s to when I returned to Spider-Man back in the 90s to even today. And I've loved his work for some various writers and some major storylines. This feels like it has actually a feel of not only nostalgic, but actually who Spider-Man and Peter Parker's world is in character design and feel. From anything from the piece from the characters, the emotions, the atmosphere, the fight scenes, and more. You definitely feel that from the beginning of the issues when you see the whole Peter Parker, down guying craziness to actually the darker areas of the criminal underworld there, and later on as we flash forward 6 months later, as well as a lot of the character expressions and pieces. I really love the artwork. It really brings the storyline to really move it on. And speaking of the story, some of the pluses I'm definitely going to say is I really love, believe it or not, the criminal underworld. Now this is taking place post, Devil's Reign, and Wilson Fisk has left, and why he's put his son Butch pretty much in charge. How his other son, Richard Fisk, of course, back as the Rose, is actually trying to get his assessment and everything and of course how he's pulled in things such as the return of Digger, which we remember from J. Michael Straczynski's run on Spider-Man, of course, the Gamma Gangster. And I actually like the nice little nod Wells gives to a part about the Green Door, especially when the Rose says, "Would you stop talking about the Green Door?" But he's really got the characters really nailed. I really like the fact of what we got here with the Underworld, with Tombstone, the Divide, everything there, as well as giving the kind of the mystery, and we don't really know what happened 6 months prior and why Peter's ended up in the outs with, for everywhere from the superhero community to his own personal community. It really works pretty well in that and the atmosphere, and I do like some of the humor. One thing that really is really well with the humor is the humor is provided, so when we get to the various jokes that Spider-Man does, it actually is pretty funny. But I think some of the best characterization, believe it or not, comes between Tombstone and of course Randy Robinson when he says he's going to, of course, ask Janice, better known as the current Beetle and the leader of the Sinister Syndicate, to marry him. And as Tombstone tells, back in my day we didn't ask, we took. But you know what? You're fine. You don't need anything from me. Janice is going to make her decision. So good luck to you. And whatever, I'm off. Cool. Welcome to the family. So it's kind of nice to see more of that areas, as well as actually how the different criminals work into the story. It does feel like gang war again. But with all that said, and much as I love the little fight scenes and everything with the villains of the story, this is a Spider-Man story. And really Peter Parker story. So let's go right into the cons. This story just feels like we've retreaded it way too much. We're back to Peter is a loser. The Parker luck means life just sucks all the time. We've got the big mystery of what happened, but apparently his attitude and everything else with Aunt May, we have the weird little thing with her having some sort of secret benefactor. It's getting her personal driver and servant, which leads into some weird dialogue between Peter and the driver. The fact once again, we're on the outs with Mary Jane again. I'll talk about the cliffhanger in a little bit, but the fact that after how they were so ready to move back in together, at the end of Beyond, to be back on the outs to so much where she's like, don't even talk to me anymore, Peter. And of course, everything else with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers that Peter stole and messed up with things. The fact that we got to deal with the whole Johnny can't turn off his fire storyline from Dan Slott's current Fantastic Four run. I do like the fact that when he says, "Hey, I thought I was looking for a friend," and then Johnny turns around and said, "What do you think I'm doing?" It definitely shows, instead of the classic, they're on the outs again, that the fact is Johnny does care what's going on, but he also wants to really know what happened. So it leaves it nice with the mystery. And like I said, there's nice with the villain storyline, which really gets everything going, what's going on, especially with Peter actually using, following Randy and watching him and actually getting caught up in the whole little battle here with the underworld and so forth. But really, that's got to be the strongest part of the storyline are the bad guys. When we got Peter here, we don't know what's going on. We're back to he's very much a loser. Apparently he's living. We don't know how he's making for a living or whatnot, but how he's on outs with this. And of course, when we come right back to Mary Jane, especially the weird and what the ending where we have a guy, Paul, bringing in 2 kids that look like a little miniature Peter and a little miniature Mary Jane, telling Mommy, oh yeah, Mommy. It's like, wait, what? Wait, what? It's definitely out of the blue kind of make you go, and I know they're going to look more for next issue, but with that all said and done, I don't like the story. We've kind of gone over the same things. And I know on Wells' writing, especially with all his work in the past, he's had some good storylines, but he was a huge part of, the Beyond storyline. Why he did a wonderful relationship between Ben Reilly and, of course, Janine, it just does not work well with everything he's done here. It really makes it feel like he hates Peter and Mary Jane. Peter's got to just be like, well, Aunt May, I can't tell you what's really going on in my life. But no, there's these weird things that, hey, you stay away from my aunt. Oh, yeah, what about this? Randy, I can't talk. Slams the door. It's like whatever happened in the plan. We're going to learn, of course, as we get closer to issue 900 here. But this is Peter the loser. This is Peter's the bad luck. No matter what, nothing goes right, and we kind of got all these feasts. And of course, we're going right on back in with another gang war, which we knew was going on. But it's a retread. It feels like we're just retreading, and we're not getting anywhere. Despite the work and the somethings of the story, I will give it actually a solid C. That is the best I can actually do, because there's some intrigue where I want to go, and I really like the villains, and JR's art is, of course, fantastic. I really enjoy it. I know love or hate his art. I've always been a fan of him, with only a couple times I've not said good things about it, but he feels at home, especially with all these characters in the Spider-Man world. So I'm glad to have John Romita Jr. back on Spider-Man with this storyline, because right now, unless Zeb Wells is going to start giving us some more as though we get close to the 900, especially with the other alternate cliffhanger, we see a mysterious villain holding Dr. Octopus and saying, hey, Spider-Man's life is already messed up and he's broken. You can't do much. But he says, oh, but Dr. Otto Octavius, I can do more. It's a very intriguing, as we know, we're going to get the Sinister Adaptoid by the time we get to issue 900. So it's definitely got some story points that definitely intrigue me. But I do not like the characterization of where we're going with Peter once again, as well as, oh, let's keep Mary Jane and Peter apart because they shouldn't be together. Be careful what you wish for. We'll see where the story goes and everything else. I'm on board right now, but right now, this story gets a solid C from me, everybody. C, and it's not for Cookie, though. A Cookie sounds really good right about now. A little cookie, a little tea, a little milk, maybe a coffee later. Oh, that sounds good. Anyhow, I think I better go help myself and call in Uber Eats to go get my coffee and cookies, guys. On that note, if you want to know more, and of course, find out our other fellow reviewers from Chi-Town to Alfred to Mark and everyone else, please check us out at the SpidermanCrawlspace.com for all the information, news, and of course, our Discord channel and social media to stay up to date with everything coming up, and of course, our podcast as always. On that note, guys, that's it for this brand new set of reviews, new background, everything else. So that, guys, I will see everyone on the Crawl Space.